Jesus reminds us today that the law of God was made for our benefit, that we weren't created to serve a set of rules. God gave us guidelines for how to live a good and happy life. And I think that's so important to remember today as we pray for life, as we remember the need to support and care for all life, especially the unborn, as we know it's the anniversary of the Roe versus Wade decision. But as we pray for all those who are most needing of our support, as we make sure that our country's laws are made more just, we have to remember that we're not talking about creating a set of rules because we read that somewhere or it seems like a good idea to us. We are trying to follow the guidelines for how our lives can be made more beautiful, more true, more joyful. We are reminded that we are working to protect life not because we have a rule given to us by someone, but because God created life to be lived. And that every life that exists is an intrinsic good, a wonderful and beautiful thing. And the more that we can make our country a place where life and where love are respected and paramount, the more our country will become a place of love, a place where things are the way they're designed to be, they're meant to be. So as we reflect today on our need to be praying for our leaders and ourselves, let's make sure that we are not falling into the worldly way of thinking, of looking at issues of good and evil in terms of political victories and in terms of trying to figure out what is a good set of rules. Let's instead open our hearts to what the Lord is saying, so that we can recognize the way in which He's calling our country, but also each one of ourselves, to a life of greater love. In what way can we show the people in our own lives that we recognize the beauty and the value and the dignity of their lives? How can we make sure that we are working to guarantee the protection of all life from birth until natural death? And how can we support all the people who are working to recognize and protect the dignity of the unborn? The more we do all these things, the more we'll be able to recognize the beautiful things that God is doing in our lives and our hearts. The Sabbath was meant to serve us. The law is there to protect all people. The world was created to give a beautiful place for life. As we reflect on the sanctity of life today, let's make sure that we are doing all we can to shift our way of thinking from trying to think about rules and regulations and requirements to figuring out how we can help ourselves and others recognize the dignity of all people and really live lives of love, of care, of service. because that is where we will find Jesus. And that is how we'll be able to be led by Him to a place in this life where we find genuine, beautiful meaning. And in the life to come, a reality where we can rejoice with the people we served, we cared for, we protected for all eternity.